So we've thought about choices. Let's move on now to challenges. Joseph's story was full of challenges, and the biggest challenge he faced was at the end of the story, the challenge of forgiving his brothers after they'd hurt him so badly years ago. Now, hopefully, none of us will face challenges quite as big as Joseph did, but we will all face challenges in our lives, and secondary school has its own unique challenges, so it's important we spend some time thinking about those. Why don't we take some inspiration from Joseph's story? He faced lots of challenges, but he didn't let those challenges change him or change who he was trusting in. He kept on staying honest and hard-working, no matter what life threw at him. And in the end, we saw God use him, not just to save all of Egypt, but to save his family as well. So, what challenges might we face in secondary school? Perhaps you've already been thinking about some of those. Perhaps you've been worried or concerned about some of the challenges you might face, and maybe it's been going around in your mind. Why not take a quick moment to think of some of those things? It might be something you're worried about. It might be something that a friend has talked to you about. Maybe you're not worried about anything, and that's really great. Now, a few years ago, there was a survey of 2,000 young people your age, and they were asked, what's your biggest worry or concern about secondary school? Now, we've taken all their answers together, and we've got the top 10. And what I've done is I've put them in a quiz. At the bottom of this video, you will be linked to the quiz. You can do the type one, you could type things down, or you can do the click one. Try and work out the top 10 biggest worries or concerns for Year 6 students going into secondary school. See you on the other side. So, how did you do? That quiz can be surprisingly difficult. And that's because there's a whole variety of different things that different people will be concerned about. Maybe some of those answers timed with you. Maybe actually you're thinking about something completely different. Or maybe nothing's worrying you at all. But I hope this quiz can encourage you. Because that was 2,000 young people. And each of them had something they could share that they were a bit concerned about in secondary school. And that tells us one very important thing. And that is that you are not alone. If you are worried about any challenge coming into secondary school, you are probably not the only person worrying about that. Times of change are times when we maybe have concerns, when we do have things that we don't know. We're uncertain. But the great thing about making that change together, which is what you'll be doing in secondary school, is you can work together on the solution. So if you're worried about getting lost, you can meet up with other people in your classroom and navigate together. Or if you're worried about not making any friends, well, there's a high likelihood that someone else in your classroom is thinking the same thing. Doesn't that make things easier to wave and say hello and maybe start up a conversation? I hope this activity can encourage you. And Anne-Marie has some more activities to help encourage us. So let's move on to her.
In this time of huge challenges, things can seem really scary and overwhelming. We might be worried about lots of different things, which is why it's a really good idea to share those worries with someone that you trust. So we have a couple of activities now as we continue to think through those challenges. First of all, we'd like you to take a look at this particular download here. It'll appear somewhere on the screen, hopefully, and in the video description below. It's a connection tree. It's a support tree. We want you to fill in that tree with all of the people around you who you know love and care for you in different ways. That could mean people who take care of you at home, parents or guardians, grandparents or other family members. Could be an older or a younger sibling. Maybe it's a really close friend group that you have. Maybe if you go to church, there's a youth worker that you've been getting along really well with, who you trust, who helps you. Maybe there's just someone in your life who always encourages you. Write down all of those people. Maybe you'd even like to consider writing God or Jesus or the ICE team or a friendly teacher on your list as well. Have a think carefully about all those people around you who you can turn to for help. When you've done that, have a think about all of those things that you might be worried about. Now, when we do this in class, sometimes we find some people don't have any worries at all and they're really excited, or maybe just indifferent about moving up to secondary school. And that's okay as well. You don't have to be really worried about all of these things. But if you are, have a think about who you could share those worries with. We know that it's not good for our mental health or our physical health to keep all those worries bottled up inside. It doesn't do us any good, and in fact it doesn't help with the problem that we're worrying about. But every time I've been worried about something and I've shared that with someone else, even if they couldn't fix my problem, they've always made me feel better. Just knowing that you're not alone in this situation can be really helpful. So fill out that beautiful support tree. Look at all of the people around you. Have a think, who could you talk to about those worries that you might have about this time of transition? And second of all, because the word challenge, we've thought about it in quite a negative way in some respects, but it doesn't always have to be a negative thing. A challenge can be a goal that you set for yourself. So that's our second activity. We want you to find our second sheet, which should appear somewhere on the screen and in the description below. And this is a challenge or a goal sheet for you to write down, something that you want to challenge yourself to do in your first year as a Year 7 student. It could be absolutely anything. This is a challenge set by you for yourself. Lots of people have written lots of different challenges over the years that we've done our mouse lessons. So think, what is it that you really want to achieve? It could be working hard with your schoolwork or your homework. It could be making sure you get all your homework done in time as best you can. Maybe you want to challenge yourself to gain confidence. Maybe make some more friends. Maybe you want to challenge yourself to keep in touch with your old friends too. Maybe you want to try a new activity, a new club, a new sport. Or maybe you want to work on the skills and the talents that you already have. Maybe you want to reach the next music grade, or maybe you want to level up in whatever sport activity you might have. Whatever your challenge is, write them down. We want you to write down 2 challenges. Maybe one could be a schoolwork one, and one could be more of a relationships building one. Who knows, whatever you want to do. When you've written down your challenges, put them somewhere safe where you will be able to find them a year from now. Now that seems a long way away, but a year will fly by before you even know it. Maybe stick it to the fridge or put it beside your bed, somewhere where you will be able to look a year from now, when suddenly you've been a Year 7 student for a whole year. You can look at that piece of paper, at your goals, and be really proud of yourself for either making those goals or at least having made some steps towards it. You see, whether we make those goals or not doesn't really matter at the end of the day. What matters is the work that we put in towards them. You never know, you might be surprised at what you can achieve when you put your mind to it. So although challenges can be overwhelming and can feel negative a lot of the time, remember a challenge can also be a goal. So why not challenge yourself and see what you can do? Now let's carry on looking through the rest of our mouse course.